one, but it is a change.
Okay, well, let's go ahead and do a little roll call. Make sure who we have here. Jody, she sent me a text. She's not going to be on. Laura, I think I see her on. I guess if you would just say here, you might be muted right now, Laura.
I'm here, but I won't be for long because we have a basketball game this afternoon in Hampton. So
Okay.
I'm here for a little bit.
Very good. We'll try to get the important stuff first. Brian Barnett, did you join us? I think he had a game as well. Jan, I think I saw her. Just say here.
She's here.
Yeah, she's here. There she is.
There she is.
We can't say here. We'll just make a breathing noise. I think I saw Whitney Riddle. Say here, please.
Here.
Mike Masters, are you on?
I am here.
All right, very good, Mike. Mary Beth, I saw she joined us. There she is. I'll take her wave as yes. And Mayor Grandy. I think he hops on late there often. Hopefully he'll join in there. Dr. Flannery.
Present.
Okay. And of course we got Glenn Rosenoff.
Present.
All right, and myself here as well. And we've got all the design team present, and it's going to be an exciting meeting just to kind of start this off. We always have to, when we do these Zoom meetings, we'll need to take a vote to hold this meeting electronically. It's necessary to declare the meeting an electronic meeting as authorized by the governor's executive order in order to protect the health and safety due to the COVID-19 virus. So if somebody can give me a motion to approve holding this meeting electronically, and then give me a second, and we'll make a vote.
Motion to approve.
All right. May I have a second, please?
Second.
All right. Got a motion to approve from Glenn, second from Whitney. And we'll do a roll call vote. Whitney?
Yes.
Glenn?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Jan?
Yes.
Dr. Flannery? I got him yes on mute, but I saw that.
Yes.
All right. Mary Beth?
Yes.
And Laura? Okay, she's on mute there. There she comes.
Yes. Yes.
All right, very good. Now we can officially hold this meeting. Just, I appreciate all the work the design team has put into this effort so far, and got to see some of the changes that they've made, and been impressed by them. Just to give you a little update, Glenn and Bob and myself and Jim Wheeler, we actually own the property now that the building's going to be put on. So that's important. We've always had an option on it, but you never know how things are going to play out. And we had a few little hills to get over there towards the end, but we got the property purchased, and I'm a believer that that's the best land that we could ever put a school on here within our city limits, and probably within East Tennessee. It's just a great piece of property. I'm excited to see what we develop and put on there. So it should be a great addition to our town. All right. Next thing we need to do is just approve the meetings or minutes from our December 9th meeting. If everybody had a chance to read through those, if you did, I'll take a motion to approve the minutes from the December 9th meeting.
So moved.
I got a motion to approve from Glenn. May I have a second, please?
Second.
All right, got a second from Mike. All right, let's go through for a quick roll call. Whitney?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Jan?
Yes.
Glenn?
Yes.
Dr. Flannery?
Yes.
Mary Beth?
Yes.
Laura?
Yes.
All right. That motion carried. So we got our minutes approved. And now we're going to move in and let our design team there at Clark Nexton kind of lead us through the next few updates. First one is a update on the classroom and building layout. So I think I'll let Aaron and Jay and Ken kind of take over there. All right, Aaron, you're up, I think.
Okay, we're gonna let Jay do the presentation this
Okay.
evening. So Jay, you've got it.
Thank you, Ken. Going to get this on and I'll share my screen in just a moment.
Looks like Jay's out there at the school site right now behind him, I believe.
He is.
That's right, dressed up too. Okay, so hopefully everybody is seeing our title screen here. Thank you everybody for joining us again virtually. There's been a lot going on kind of behind the scenes, but we want to show you where we are now and give you a good update on the project. So the project goals have not changed. We are all of the things that we have wanted to accomplish all along, still doing the same things, but we want to focus on the spending capital wisely. In that we've been focusing on efficiency and buttoning things up, tightening things up, making them work as good as we can get them. So we just, in the fall, finished our schematic design, and that's where everybody got to see all the exciting information. You know, that's where we've tossed around ideas and put them together into visuals that are really exciting. Design development, of course, is a lot more nuts and bolts. It's really, it's about figuring out what the problems are that need to be solved and then starting to solve those problems. And then looking at strategies for implementing the project and making sure that we've got, you know, everything going in the right direction. And we've been doing quite a lot of that. But unfortunately, what it means is, by and large, there's not a whole lot of great new visuals to show you. So we want to remind you of what we've been working toward right here. And since last meeting, what we've been working on is with Burleson Construction and Town of Jonesborough. We've put together the RFP for the construction manager, and that's, you know, largely due to credit from Tommy Burleson and Wayne Wood. That you know, they've really put together a great package, and I believe that is on Rural Development's desk for approval at this point. We've started to hold meetings for some of the infrastructure groups, and we're pushing in to have more meetings with the user groups. And so we spent a good amount of time with IT to work out what the strategy will be for the new building. And we've also been working on developing the site plan. We've continued to make things more efficient, both with the building and the site, and you'll see what we mean in a little bit. We've also begun developing what the kitchen layout will be, which there's a lot of detail that goes into that, so we wanted to get a jump on that. And then, of course, we've been working with Burleson on getting that cost estimate together. So what I want to show you here, this is the latest site plan, and what you're going to see here, if you've been looking through the materials Bob sent earlier. One of the things that we're really looking at is, you know, for schematic design, we've set out to create as much car stacking and as much parking as possible to make sure to find out, you know, what could we possibly do on this site. And what we're really doing now is making it efficient. That what can we do? We don't need to pave everything. And we need to be effective with what we do. So I want to walk you through a few things here that we've done. And the layout, as you can see, is exactly the same, but there's a few details that I want to point out. So Jonesborough School, what we have is 242 parking spaces at the school itself, and that's on the north and the south lots. And then another 100 spaces satellite for the ball fields. In addition to that, we've got another 129 spaces for gravel that will basically be satellite spots and those could easily be paved in the future. And then we are grading for, but not graveling, an additional 70 spaces. So that works out to 541 total spaces if we build all that out. And just for a point of reference, Boones Creek has roughly 381 after the ball fields have been, once those are fully built out. That's roughly where they will be. Closer to the building, again, this should be very, very familiar. We've got a lot of amenities that we're looking to incorporate here. Primarily, we're looking at the playgrounds. We have the CDC playground at the edge of the courtyard. We have the pre-K playground over by the bus entrance. We have a pair of playgrounds for the elementary grades, and then kind of a recess area. And that's really more looking at like a half-court basketball, maybe some foursquare, things like that. That's less structured areas for recess. And then, of course, the dining patio, which would be right off the cafeteria, delivery areas, and then the drop-off canopy for the cars and for the bus loop.
One thing that has changed about that is that over at the CDC playground, we've pushed it out just a little bit. Extended it out beyond that southern wing and closer to the exit loop. And there's some parking spaces, 4 or 5, that we put in there. So again, as I pointed out in the narrative on this, is that, these playgrounds are not funded either through the school or through the project. So there has to be fundraising or grant applications. And if for community use, we're trying to get it to where it has as much access for community use as possible in order to try to get the playgrounds funded in some way.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Thank you, Bob. And then also, just to, some of the other things, this is a bit of a reminder. What we've been looking to do is provide the opportunity for different experiences, for educational experiences for the students, and that's specific to the courtyard. Knowing that we really don't want to be putting all the recesses in there. What other things could occur in there? So of course, one of the main things is that patio off of the art room, and we've included an extension of that off of the community-based learning or media lab room, which is kind of that dual use space. That they could have access to outdoor from that. Also, we were looking at that reading porch right off the media center itself. But then, of course, there's a lot left over. And so the question is, what do we really do with that? So, we would encourage a series of educational gardens, open spaces that, you might be able to do some gatherings, as we talked before about breakout spaces and things like that. But really what we've done, and this is, again, another initiative that Bob has taken on, we have a group of students from Clemson University working on a landscape master plan for the entire site. And they are going to, one of the areas they will be focusing on is the courtyard, knowing that that is such a special space and it's critical to the success of the school. And Bob can talk, I'm not going to talk too much about that. That's kind of a separate piece. But beyond that, I guess I just want to point out that with the drop-off canopies, what we've got here, this is essentially, we've made it work a little bit better, but what we've got is 14 uncovered spaces and 14 covered spaces that you could be able to, we can drop off lots of kids or pick up lots of kids at the same time. There's no crossing traffic. There's no all the cars are stationary as the kids are moving, and then all those cars are released at one time and they enter the queue at the same time. So it's the safest we can be and the most efficient that we could be.
Let me add something to that, Jay, since you're talking about what we sort of call the peninsula. That's a reduction in the length of that peninsula and sort of back to where we sort of originally started. As Jay said, we sort of looked at it from, okay, what's the maximum we can do? And then you start doing reality checks on that. And I've mentioned in there that one of the things that we're doing right now is we're actually communicating with Jordan Hughes on this, since she's got the most similar situation in terms of what is realistic. One of the issues with pickup is getting the right kid in the right car and adult supervision in that process. And so we're trying to get a determination as what realistically, is the number of adults that would be out there capable of doing that. And if, we can have a little bit more than what somebody might think, the number of adults that might be available to get kids in the car, but we don't need to be way out and spending the money, for a lot more pickup if it's not realistic that there would be enough supervision to handle it. So we're trying to balance that, and we're still working on that.
Yep, absolutely.
Hey, Bob, if I may, Joe Grandy just sent me a text, and I think he's trying to join the meeting and not been able to get let in. I don't know if Cameo or whoever's got that, if we're keeping him out of the meeting or not.
I don't know. Cameo, are you still on? Let me call her. You can go ahead if Cameo can get him on. Hey,
so one of the other key areas that we're trying to,
can you let him on?
That we're trying to do with the building itself, we talked about reducing the building area. What we did is we compared the building program versus what we had at SD or at the schematic design submission. And we found some areas that we really could tighten up. And we talked about this at the December meeting, or I should say Aaron and Ken talked about this at the December meeting. But we wanted to show you what the result of that was, what really happens. So all the areas in red, this is the first floor plan that we submitted back in the fall. All the areas in red are areas that we were able to reduce and eliminate from the project. There's a similar exercise. I'll show you the second floor in a second. But really what we did is we tightened up on the support spaces at the classrooms. We found we had some extra space there. We reimagined the entryway and the administration area, made that much more effective. We found that the gymnasium as a piece was a little bit too big, so we pulled that back and right-sized that. And then we also found we're able to do a similar exercise at the auxiliary gym, and that realized a little bit more floor savings. We look at the second floor. Again, the same thing where we have the classroom service areas, these 4 spaces in the classroom wings that carries upstairs because that's 2 stories. And then what is more apparent here is the last thing that we did was we pushed the gymnasium, the cafeteria, and the auxiliary gym closer to the classroom wings by about a couple feet, which you add all that up, and we were able to reduce the total building area by just a hair over 5,000 square feet. In addition to that, we don't really have a graphic for it, but we were able to, largely because of mechanical systems, we were able to reduce the building height as well by roughly 3 feet as well, simply by reducing the floor-to-floor area and then the second floor to the roof area. We just don't need as much ceiling space. So we were able to do that without reducing, the ceiling heights, for instance. We still have nice tall ceilings. All of that experience stuff is still there. And then when you put that together, this is that same diagram we've been showing you, just updated for the current floor plan. The main thing you're going to see here is it's pretty much the same. And the main thing we want everyone to know is that we've not sacrificed any program. We've not sacrificed effectiveness. We think we've improved effectiveness for the way that the building would operate. And we think that we've just improved the experience that the faculty and students would have here. And then same thing upstairs, largely the same. It's just 5,000 square feet smaller, and of course that 5,000 square feet is that's more money we don't have to spend. Showing you real quick, this is the exact same rendering we showed you, again back in the fall, because we want to compare this against the new entrance. what we've done is we looked at, we had to reduce that floor area. It just didn't seem to make sense looking at what we had. So we were able to pull it back quite a bit. As you saw in the original, it pushed out, it had additional roof coverings and things like that. By pulling it back in, what we can do is create a pocket of space. And this really goes back to what we talked about with creating that front porch for the school. And it's a landing place. It marks that entry. You can still see it from way off, over by the traffic circle that we're putting in. And then as you approach the building in the drop-off lane. The other nice thing is this also provides lots and lots of cover that's right by the building entrance. So, you can bring out students in phases, like for pickup. You can have them organized without having to be, they're right up close to the building. So you've got like an interior staging space, at the Great Hall, and then an exterior staging space, and then they can distribute out to the cars as they get picked up from there. And again, this is really what we're doing is just making it more efficient. It's looking at what we had and trying to improve upon it, tighten it up, and get these things to work better for the school.
Hey Jay,
Yes.
I think that new entrance, what I liked about it is that it just seems much more open now, and I do like that you got that such a large covered area there at the entrance. So I think that was a great change.
Thank you. We're really excited for this because we think it will function really well. It's simple to build, and it's we don't have to. There's a lot of things that we don't have to do, and the main thing, I'm going to just go back. I think we'll be able to go. Yeah, looking at what we had originally, it's nice, but it's complex. There's a lot of things that we would have to do, and it just that we could be much more effective by simplifying it, especially if we're already looking at tightening up the floor area. So it just makes sense to us. We're glad you like it.
I have one question. Could you move that vertical Jonesborough sign over to the right side of the entrance? You got that big brick. Yeah.
We might. We kind of put it there. We weren't sure exactly, where that sign might go. Where we had it originally was on the, right on the admin block. So we kind of put it there.
Oh no, that's a nice.
We can look at where it might go.
That's a nice vertical space right there on the right side of the entrance.
Yep. Yeah, we'll have to look at it. But yeah, thank you.
All right. Jonesborough is not big enough.
We could still make, that canopy is long, Bob. We can, you might need a fundraiser for the sign, but
yeah,
we can do it.
Bob, are you talking about on the side of the gymnasium building wall? Is that where you're talking about?
No, I'm talking about where he's got the cursor there, in that section.
Along here.
Okay.
I know Bob is joking a little bit about the size of the sign in Jonesborough, but one of the other reasons that we've got it oriented like that on the canopy is that as you approach the building from the traffic circle and come around, that sign is oriented towards the cars coming into the site.
Right.
So there's a little bit of thought behind it. We can always make it bigger.
Yep.
Well, probably the color there has not been the same as the brick, so the picture might be a little misleading. But yeah, the color of the lettering can be tweaked.
Right. Yeah. Honestly, we just made it, tiger orange.
I realize you just
that brick will be a darker red, so it ought to pop a little bit better there. That's a good comment, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah. No, but you guys are right that, really as we developed this before we finished the SD portion or the design development package, we do want to, make sure we have those details nailed down. That's a lot of the type of discussion that we've been having, internally. There we go. And then just to, more of as a refresher, we haven't changed anything in the courtyard. But again, one of the things, looking at the, what might actually occur in this space, and hopefully, we're excited to have the Clemson class, involved in providing some ideas, and we're excited to see what they might come back with. But yeah, we just really want to encourage active spaces and really maximize what this courtyard can be for the students.
You know, just it's probably a good time to mention the video that Aaron sent me, that I've sent out to everybody, and I saw that Jan had watched that. They the kinds of things that you know, they've looked at some of the schools over there in North Carolina. I very closely align with some of the goals that we have, and I thought that was very interesting, and just in terms of what some other people have done to create these kind of spaces outside of the school building.
Right, and I think it's also kind of important to mention, you know, when we talk about that video, that you know, it's nice to have these spaces, and it's really beneficial from an educational standpoint to have these spaces for the students, simply for the opportunities that they represent. But it also, the video is actually put together in the context of school security, that just the ability for students to go out into, you know, soft garden spaces where they can experience nature really helps stress relief, and allows them to have an outlet for, you know, if they're just having a bad day, or, you know, things like that. And it relieves the pressure, particularly if there might be a bullying situation or something like that. And so spaces like this can be important for that reason as well, and it's really important to recognize that.
I appreciate you all looking at that. You know, reading through that, it all makes sense. I get a chance, I'll watch that video. I think it's about 45 minutes, so when I get free 45 minutes, I'll watch that. Just one thing that just think about is making sure it's easy to maintain too. Don't put any kind of landscaping in that takes a lot of maintenance. We've done that here in the town of Jonesborough. It looks great, but we stretch our resources. And for the school and the school system itself, and really the town of Jonesborough, that'll be maintaining it. Let's put some thought into that it's easy to care for as well.
Yes. Yeah, Mr. Mayor. It's everything we've looked at has been viewed through that lens. So everything we want to propose would be, you know, would have that in mind. And then again, we, you know, just to reiterate, we've not really changed anything on the inside. You know, it's slightly smaller. This space with the Great Hall, it's a little bit smaller, but otherwise it's the same. So we've been really just looking at taking away things that, you know, might not be effective for the school. Everything else, you know, we're still pretty well on track. So there's a lot to do. In terms of design development, we've got a lot of exterior decisions to make, particularly with the brick details. You know, we've talked before with Bob about looking at the cornice condition on the classroom wings, and, you know, we've got that on our plate. We've got some great ideas, and we're ready to, we think, to incorporate that pretty soon. We've got to select a lot of material finishes and look at the wall systems. We've nailed that down, we think, and so we need to incorporate that into the model. You know, develop all these exterior spaces that, you know, get back to the athletic fields, you know, the courtyard, all the remaining landscaping. And then there's a lot of coordination, you know, structural, mechanical, civil, fire alarm, plumbing, all these things, you know, there's all that we need to do. None of that is terribly exciting from there's no pretty pictures that go with it, but it's just a lot of nuts and bolts that we're planning on working on. And then we got to keep going with the user meetings. So really at this point, the main targets are going to be the related arts, and then CDC, and we've got some wrap up we need to do with the technology team. And then finally, we got to lock in the kitchen layout. We're pretty far along, and we just need to make sure that we've got that set up exactly the way that it needs to be. And that's about where we are. I will stop sharing.
Thank you, Jay. Members, anyone got any questions there?
Yes, I do.
Okay, Mary Beth.
I'm ready for the groundbreaking.
Every day we're getting closer.
I know it.
I wanted to address one thing that you were talking about, Mayor Best, and you were talking about the upkeep from Jonesborough, but if the gardens or whatever you put in are student-based and student-led, I feel like they would be responsible for a lot of that upkeep. It wouldn't all it wouldn't all have to be the town, would it?
No, I agree with that. Anything the students will be using and getting educational benefits from, there's probably something there about them maintaining that. I'm sure that'll be, something we'll do. It's just probably the surrounding grounds is kind of where I'm at. If there's places that are, the town will be, maintaining that area.
Yep. And not to plug the video, but one of the main points of that is where we propose to do any kind of a special garden that would be for educational benefit for the students. Generally, part of that exercise is that the students help create that garden, they help maintain that, and that's part of the experience of being in that space. They can take ownership of that.
Okay, has anyone else got any feedback or a question for the design team? Okay. I think, Jay, you went into kind of the overall site plan, and at some point we're going to need to get approval just to kind of approve that design to date. It's always a work in progress. But if no one else has any questions or comments, I'll take a motion to approve the design to date.
So moved.
All right, got a motion to approve from Mary Beth. May I have a second, please?
Second.
All right, thank you. Got a second from Whitney. Barely edged out Jen, I think, there. Now we'll do a call for the vote there. Whitney?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Jan?
Yes.
Glenn?
Yes.
Dr. Flannery?
Yes.
And Mary Beth?
Yes.
All right, I think Laura has jumped off. So Mayor Grandy, you still on?
Yes, sir.
All right, well, there we go. All right, well, our motion, good to see you there, Joe. All right, now that took care of our agenda item 3 and 4. You just want to give us a quick update on the agenda 5, Bob?
Yeah, I think that, some of that is just information. I won't go back over it. I went ahead and sent you out the entire RFP, the request for proposals, that as we have it right now, as the mayor said, it's been sent to rural development. We're currently working with Jim Wheeler and our consulting attorneys on the actual contract, the construction manager contract, which is really the contractor itself, which also that contract ends up with a guaranteed maximum price. I wanted to send this out to you to see kind of the complexity of what we're having to put together, but also just a reminder that this process is that it's intended is similar to what was used on Boones Creek, where we have a contractor that gets selected about halfway through the construction drawings, and then that we're working with that contractor through the remaining aspects of the design to that they're doing value engineering and cost estimates along with Burleson Construction, so that we end up with that guaranteed maximum price, and that we know that the project is within the funding available. So, you know, that process has to, you know, it's not really the design, but it's essential in that in order for us to move the project along. And we tried to get it into, we started back with rural development in November. And again, that's how long sometimes it takes us to work things through. So we're expecting to have that through rural development by the end of this month, and hopefully if things go well, that we'll have an RFP out potentially in March. I mean, that's our goal at this point in time. We have a couple other approvals that we need to go through, but that's what our hope is. As the mayor said, we have purchased the land, and I certainly want to compliment Jim Wheeler and the mayor and Glenn for their efforts to get that done. He mentioned they had to go up some hills. I would say there was a couple cliffs that were in the way. They did a good job of getting that behind us. We are working on, as Jay pointed out, we're continually working on the cost estimates, and that's all. There's no sense in throwing figures out until we get far enough through design development that we really know exactly what we're pricing. But there's an ongoing process that's going along with that, and we're making modifications as we go in the design, just based on looking at things from a realistic standpoint, and saying, okay, can we do the same? Can we reach the same goal a little bit cheaper? So we're constantly working on that, and you see that and the kinds of things that have happened in the classroom size, the way that we've dealt with bathrooms in the classrooms, and the HVAC going on the roof and all that. That's all part of this process of trying to be as cost effective as we can. And we hope to finish that process sometime around the 1st of March if everything goes well. I don't guess there is, I don't think there was anything else. If anybody had any questions about those, we have put the interim financing in place for the entire project based on the $32,750,000. So, that is all available for us. That was another process that wasn't necessarily easy, but we had to do that in conjunction with some of the other debt service that the town had, but we have cleared all the hurdles on that and have that all in place. So that's another solid step forward in terms of moving the project along in a timely manner and being able to pay people in a timely manner. So that's it, I guess, on that particular item, if anybody has any questions.
Thanks, Bob. Just to make a quick comment on that. I think when we started talking about this school design, we were looking at neighborhood of 148,000 square feet, and just by being smarter, we've got that down to 138,000, I guess, plus square feet. And, that saves us a lot of money and cuts out things we might have had to do after the fact, and really to see the building height drop 3 feet because of the way we're doing, the internals of the school. That's just smart design. So I appreciate team doing that. Part of that too was, selecting a site. And Bob, you might touch on, I found it great that we did those 55 bore samplings out there and came back pretty positive, I think, most on all that. And that was our hope, that we wouldn't run into any excess charges there at the site. You want to speak to that real quick?
I will, and anytime you do soil borings in Northeast Tennessee, you have to have an asterisk out there that says, okay, well, you didn't hit rock, but it could have been 2 feet to the right or 2 feet from the left. So that's a reality factor with it. But at the same time, I think we only had 2 bores that might affect the building site, and those where they hit rock, and then it had, you also have to calculate where they hit, how deep they hit it, and whether or not it's above the finished elevation of the first floor and that kind of thing. So there was very little of that, but that doesn't mean that, again, that you don't hit it somewhere else. But the good thing about not hitting bedrock, at least at this point, is that if it's pinnacle rock, which is typically, the kind of situation where you don't hit it, but it might be 2 feet away, that's easier. We hit that kind of rock, with our water and sewer departments and stuff that we do. And, with a rock hammer and a track hoe, you can knock that out. It's not, it's much easier to deal with that rock than it is if you were hitting a big slab of bedrock. There isn't any rock outcroppings on the site. So that's a good thing. The soils were more moist. They weren't soupy soils, but they were more moist. There's a couple of explanations for that, and just the type of soil it is. For one thing, how much organic matter's in it, and we've just it's been, Lord, I think we've had maybe 2 dry days, in the last 6 months or something. So you got wet soils anyway. But there's ways, if you, we have the geotechnical report. If anybody wants to see it, we'd be glad to let you come by, or if you really want a copy of it, we'll be glad to make a copy. But the bottom line of it is that the end result was that the town can do what and we can do as a group of partners what we want to do on that site. And we may have to spread out some soils and dry them out for a little bit or something like that. But it didn't look like there was anything, at least in my unknowledgeable opinion, that we couldn't overcome. So I think it as the mayor said, I think it's a good site and we can do what we want to.
All right, thanks, Bob.
Any Jay or Ken or Aaron, do you have any comment on that? My close.
No, I think we would be largely in agreement. I think the only thing that I would add to that is, we are still planning to carry a contingency on, there may be something that we have to deal with, but it's, very refreshing to see a site that doesn't have as many of the complexities that we generally run into.
Yeah, they're at now in the budget that, the way we have it right now, I think it's like 400,000 that we have as a contingency for rock and bad soil. So we're hoping that we get most of that back.
Right. Very good. Thank you all. Has anybody else got any questions or comments about what we just discussed? All right. If not, next item on the agenda was update on security and technology. Is anything in additional we need to talk about that? I did enjoy reading through there about the thoughts we're putting into, wiring the building, make sure we're, thinking about the future and the best way to do that, and using, what was done out at Boones Creek as a guide. So is anything else to add to that security and technology item?
I guess, if you don't mind me saying something else about it, I think that, one of the things that we're working through is, and Jay sort of mentioned this when we were talking about the benefits of outdoor types of activities and things like that and learning experiences, is that there's one of the trends that seems to be going on at the same time when you talk about security and the role of the SRO. I think I put that in some of the narrative, is that there, in the discussions that we've been having related to the SRO, the role of the SRO in trying to reduce bullying is obviously a major focus. It's the kind of thing that happens in every school, and even though the security and what you do to protect yourself from an active shooter, there is an ongoing reality of what happens internally in almost every school as it relates to the social interactions and problems that occur with those interactions. And so we're trying to, what we're doing as far as security is not only, trying to pay attention to the active shooter role, but also to the reality of what happens in a regular school. And we've been getting some, I think, good feedback in terms of, we can do to reduce the potential for conflict, I guess, in the school, and how cameras are, how cameras get set up to not only deal with what's going on with somebody coming into the building, but also what's happening in the building itself.
Right. Thanks, Bob. Anybody else got any comments or feedback along that line? All right. Very good. I guess the Jay, are you and Aaron or Ken got anything else you want to add before we get into discussing the next meeting dates?
Can we go back to the site plan, because we did talk about? Oh, you did approve that. That.
Yes.
Never mind. Just forget it. I'm old.
Aaron, you got a comment there, Aaron?
No, thank you, Mr. Mayor. We appreciate y'all's time tonight, and we look forward to moving this on. And in 1 more month, we'll have a design development set. We're going to continue to work with Tommy and Wayne over at Burleson, and bring you all some good numbers.
All right, very good. All right. Anyone else have any feedback? Mayor Grandy, you got anything you want to add to the conversation?
Sir Mayor, thanks for allowing us to participate. Glad to see the process is moving along. Get her going.
All right. Thanks. That was the same advice Mary Beth said. She wanted us to start breaking ground, but we got to get her tweaked just right first.
I'm getting excited.
All right. Meeting dates. I know. Me too. Now, Bob, did you want 2 meeting days? Did we need to do something a little bit quicker for something, and then come back later with our regular time?
Well, I think it helps. One thing, just for me personally, I've got family that's I get my second shot tomorrow, and for some reason I've got a family that wants to see me, and Janet gets hers soon, so. It was just, in order to do that, just trying to know whether we're, with spring breaks being at the end of the month or wherever it is. I think it's in terms of the next, the March or the February meeting, and, you guys from Clark Nixon, I think any amount of time that, especially in this, this next 30 days or something like that, any additional time to help us get where we need to go with the design development. If we could meet at the 1st of March, if people don't have a problem with that, I think that would be helpful as opposed to trying to go to the last week in February. Would that be a problem for anybody?
That makes sense, unless Aaron and Jay want us to come back for some reason in a couple of weeks. But what do you think there, Aaron?
It's heads down time, Mr. Mayor. We've got to put the pencil to the paper and get some drawings done. So we'd love to come see y'all at the beginning of March. Maybe 1 month from today would be potentially it's the first Wednesday of the month.
Okay, well, we got on Wednesdays we got March 3rd to consider, and we can do March 10th. Let's see if there's any conflicts around there. Members, do you have any preference whether it's the 3rd or the 10th? If nobody does, I'd just soon probably add on a week there just to make sure we, give us another week to get
the 3rd. Can you do it on the 10th? We need a little bit of time to get with Jan on related art, so.
Yeah. Well, let's say March 10th. Go ahead, Jan.
That would be great if we can do the 10th, but that's just.
Okay. Anybody got any conflicts with March 10th? If not, we'll do that at 4 o'clock. We'll either do it via Zoom or maybe even be able to get together at that point. We'll see. All right. If there's no conflicts there, we will just plan on March 10th to come back and hear some more great information, and hopefully hear some good numbers here soon. All right. Anybody else got anything they'd like to say before we get off? All right. Appreciate your. Go ahead,
want
Bob.
to say, I want to say, I don't like leaving a meeting without talking about the amount of cooperation that we've gotten from the school system staff. You know, Dr. Flannery, you've got some excellent employees, and they've been really helpful.
Thank you for saying so. You are so true, so true.
Well, I think I read too that Dr. Flannery is going to try to retire on us, but we got to make sure we get this school built before he goes off and gets him land on a lake somewhere.
Mayor Vest, if we don't break ground before June the 30th, I'm going to go out there anyway with a shot.
Oh, let's hope we can before then. Yes.
We'll have to videotape that and patch you in on the real groundbreaking.
Dr. Flannery,
I will say, you know, that we are working on the funding for that. We haven't given up on that Agricultural Learning Center. And I mentioned that we have petitioned the state, and there are people that are working on that and feel very positively about it at this point.
Good news. Good news.
Yeah, that'd be a great addition. We need to make that happen. It's something different and unique that I'd love to see us pull that off. So, all right, I appreciate everybody, and we'll be back together on March 10th, and look forward to the next good update from the Clark Nexton team. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks everyone.